Hello and welcome to today's session. I hope you're all doing amazingly well. Today, I would like to talk about the they don't get it syndrome. Last week, I talked about the I want to be like syndrome. And today, I want to take it a step further on they don't get it syndrome. And I see this, I've lately been reading a few of the comments that I've received on my LinkedIn posts, and I found that very interesting. And I think it's worth shedding the spotlight on this subject because as wellness is growing and there's a growing awareness around the value of wellness within hospitality, I think sometimes there are some of us who think it's more of a hype than a real reality, or there is a lag between the hype about wellness and what is actually happening in our day to day operations when it comes to the reality of the wellness business. So today is more focused on two types of people. So you have the wellness directors in hotels, particularly the luxury segment, or wellness practitioners who are offering their services to hotels. And a recurrent thought I see, and this, I have had it myself, is that my hotelier colleagues or this hotel does not get wellness. They simply don't get it. And when we think like that really doesn't serve us or our businesses. And I mean, we have seen that. It only leads to sheer and utter frustration. Then there is also this second group of people. And I'm seeing it less and less now, but it's still prevalent. It is owners of boutique hotels, some wellness directors, and also some wellness practitioners offering a very niche wellness service. And they, apart from thinking that hotelier colleagues or other people don't get wellness, they actually believe that their guests, that the market doesn't get what they're offering. Now, here's the problem. Whenever we think they, whoever they is, don't get it, and whatever it might be, surely we know that this is not an attitude or a mindset that's really going to serve our cause, that it we're trying to offer. And today, what I wanted to shed that spotlight is on how thinking like that really doesn't serve us. And that is really, if we're living that scenario, it's because we have created that scenario. And I'm just going to go, kind of sidetrack. I remember when I first entered this industry over 20 years ago, but this is roughly around 18 to 20 years ago, before I was heading to Doha. And I remember having a conversation with my dad. Now, just to know that wellness today, the way we know it, was definitely not wellness 18 to 20 years ago. And I remember sitting with my dad, just having a conversation that, just a few years earlier, I had left Goldman Sachs to dedicate myself full time to wellness. And I just remember my first years in the industry, specifically wellness within hospitality, of being, those years just full of frustration, the sense of helplessness, this impotence that, wow, this, I really see this is a huge business opportunity and I don't understand why they don't get it. They don't understand it. And I kind of got myself in this negative spiral without even realizing it. And I was sitting and having my conversation, venting, to my dad. And he was like, darling, what if it's not them who don't get wellness? It's you who doesn't get hospitality. Because clearly they do believe and care in wellness if they've hired you. They're putting aside their budget for wellness. They're building facilities of wellness. Now, it can't be that they don't care about it. They clearly do care about it. And maybe it's not their job to get wellness. Maybe it's your job to help them understand wellness. Or maybe it's your job to make wellness valuable for the bigger picture, for that bigger hotel. And that is when I kind of had that penny drop moment where it's like, yeah, they wouldn't have hired me. They wouldn't be investing the money in me. And I can assure you, in some roles, I have held very handsome salaries for the spa profit and loss that was there. So they clearly did believe in wellness, obviously. Otherwise, they wouldn't have hired me, right? The same reason. For each of you watching me, wellness directors in hotels, especially the luxury segment, or those wellness practitioners selling your services to luxury hotels. It's not their job to get wellness. Do you get food and beverage, conferences, weddings, rooms? How can we expect our hotelier colleagues to understand something that they did not receive a training in when we ourselves do not understand their business? So it's not about they don't get it. It's about us trying to understand what drives this particular hotel's business strategy. And from there, see how we can position our wellness offering as an asset for this particular hotel. Now, in my masterclass trainings that I offer, I talk a lot about an asset being something that has both tangible, easily measurable, and intangible, not that easily measurable value that contributes positively to achieving a goal or an objective. But as wellness leaders, we get stuck in the first half of the definition. That wellness clearly has both tangible and intangible value. But we forget that this value has to contribute positively to achieving an overall goal or objective. And it's our job as wellness leaders to show that value, to contribute positively to that overall goal or objective. And the way we do that is in three ways. We first sit with our GM, with our owners, and we try to understand what the overall goal and objective is of the business. And from there, instead of saying they don't get it, they don't get wellness, trying to see how can I make them see the value of wellness, and even better, how can I make wellness of value to achieving this overall goal and objective. And this, my wellness practitioner friends, also applies to you. Understand what that hotel's objectives are. And it's not always revenue and profitability, though I know it always feels like that. But there is more substance and purpose involved. And it's your job to find what that is. And then from there, position wellness or whatever you're offering as that asset to help achieve that overall goal or objective. Know that it is not hospitality's role to know about wellness. But if you are a small area wellness within the bigger hotel, it is your responsibility to learn about your hotel's objectives, to learn about hospitality, and for you to get rooms, food and beverage, weddings, what direction that hotel is headed in. And then there you can make wellness omnipresent. You know, it's always fascinated me. I'm like thinking food and beverage, the director of food and beverage actually oversees food and beverage outlets, that is guest facing, as well as the employee canteen, restaurant, nutrition. That food and beverage director oversees the internal and external guests. But here's the thing, when it comes to wellness, we barely manage our guests' well being. Whereas we have people in culture who actually look after employee well being. Now, just imagine if you showed the value of what wellness could bring to the table for both our internal and external guests and what that could do for your role. Because here's the thing, there is a need for it. And if you're not covering it because you are so busy getting entertained and they don't get it, other people are taking that role on. And I strongly advocate that just as food and beverage looks after employee as well as guest nutrition and food and beverage outlets, the director of wellness should be focusing on not only guest well-being, but on also employee well-being. And the way you do that is by understanding the overall business objective. It's too simplistic to say that they only care about revenue and profitability, because we know that all businesses are moving in a very different direction, even if we don't genuinely believe that. Then a second way of actually getting your colleagues to get wellness or your wellness offering is to understand what value translates into. Is it guest satisfaction? Is it increase in occupancy? Is it curbing, seasonal fluctuations? What is it? Is it increasing average check per stay? Is it increase average length per stay? What is it? And then from there, focus on that particular metric. Now, you don't need your ATRs, your rev path, and all the whole battery of KPIs that we measure in our spas and wellness facilities. Those KPIs barely move the revenue needle. When I always tell our wellness leaders, when I'm taking them through the Wellness Asset Academy or the Asset Builder Mentorship, I'm telling them, think about one KPI that moves everything. And that tends to be the revenue contribution of wellness compared to the rest of the hotel. Are you at 2% today? Are you at 4%? Are you at 5%? Then just try to increase that by 1 percentage point. And then you'll see the magic. It'll encourage you to think beyond your spa. It'll encourage you to think about strategic partnerships. It will encourage you to actually be the leader of a wellness business that is a strong value and revenue contributor to your hotel. And lastly, when we're talking about, making other people get us, the first, the thing you need to really concentrate on is, as I mentioned earlier, you do need to make that incredibly measurable. So when you are actually measuring what value you're contributing, you see that progress. And that metric has to be mutually agreed upon between you and your directors, the rest of the executive committee, the GM, the owner. And when it comes to the wellness practitioner, it's not only about revenue or giving your guests a service. It's about thinking, what impact? Now, what if I could get your guests to go back more often just because, they're coming back to the hotel because they want this particular service that I'm offering? So think beyond just, how much am I selling on a micro level to what am I contributing to a bigger macro level? And that's it for today. I just lost my train of thought. But I've got it now. It's when we think they don't get it, And that could either be your hotelier colleagues not getting it, or your clients not getting your wellness concept or what you're offering. I think it's so important to just switch the conversation around to how can I make them get it? Don't just assume that everyone needs to get you. That's not the way good business works. And it's taking that time, that effort to actually understand your stakeholders. So, your clients. So, as a wellness director, as a visiting practitioner, or as a hotel owner with a fantastic wellness concept, your clients are the people who have a problem and you're called to serve them. And you need to see how it is that you can get what you're offering to be of value to them. Don't assume that you automatically have that value or that other people will see the value of what you're offering. And I will, in the comment section, hook you up to a podcast episode that I did, a few months back on this sense of entitlement that we have, that because we've created a fantastic wellness offering or a product, or just because we're amazing at what we do, that automatically we should see success and that automatically everyone should get what we're doing. And that sense of entitlement can actually be quite dangerous for us. So I think it's always important to step back and understand, okay, I have created this. I have wellness. Now, how can I make this of value to whoever I'm offering this wellness concept to? It could be you're pitching it to your GMs or your owners, or you're pitching it to your end client. So it's staying humble and keeping away from that sense of entitlement and just reframing how it is that you offer value. How can you get them? Because seek to understand, then seek to be understood. And on that note, I wish you all a beautiful day ahead. Take care now.